right. Thank you very much for this opportunity to give a talk. I'm an enterprise architect who's got 20 years hands-on experience in helping companies innovate and grow and transform. I've led and designed implementation of contact center transformations during the driving a kind of multi-channel strategy in large insurance and travel management companies. I'm very much passionate about helping companies reinvent themselves through digital capabilities and becoming truly customer-centric. What I wanted to talk about today is this sort of point of view, actually. So, you know, as a customer, I'm an outsider to the firm. Therefore, the customer point of view is really from outside in. Let's say the company is Russell Hobbs. I'm a customer. I bought your toaster. Soon after, its warranty period lapsed. The toaster developed a blinking light. Then its press down arm broke. The material had failed, so we couldn't use it anymore. I went to the website to give some customer feedback. There was no place for us to submit a review, only a clumsy contact us page for everything. I would call Russell and Hobbs a product-centric rather than a customer-centric company. My next buy was a different brand, something a bit more reliable. If you look at the customer ratings down here, you will see there are features that customers do care about, like easy to clean, easy to use, value for money. There are others like durability, which I cared about, which may be a bit harder to track. An outside-in view asks for what it feels to be the customer of the company. What is the experience of using your product or service? So from that angle, when we look at the literature, especially the classic ones like the Balanced Scorecard by Kaplan and Norton, you see a lot of metrics, a set of metrics, what they call the customer perspective. They argue that there are a core set of measures that should serve as key performance indicators for the customer perspective in your Balanced Scorecard. I would like to ask Holly and now to put up a poll about the question, are these customer KPIs, in your view, customer-centric? Is that something you can organize? So this is actually not so much select one of the following, but I guess, yeah, you could say one of the following. I think the Net Promoter Score, customer sat, customer lifetime value, customer retention, market share.
We'll just wait a moment to get the answers in, and then we'll display the results.
Okay. All right, well, that's interesting. So customer satisfaction score gives one of the highest, actually, and then next door to it is Net Promoter Score and customer lifetime value, then customer retention. So yeah, I mean, actually, when it comes to customer satisfaction score, it typically is too broad. It doesn't really say what the company should do to improve it. And when it comes to Net Promoter Score, well, I don't know if customers actually do care about the Net Promoter Score. It doesn't provide any direct traceability to any single customer expectation that the company may be falling short of. You know, it's again, they're both very broad. With customer lifetime value, we can discuss it a bit more, but you know, if you took it from the point of view, from the reverse point of view, That is, what is the value we've delivered to the customer, which is not typically how it's usually measured. It's the degree to which the customer has actually brought in profit or income to the company over their lifetime. So really, with that distinction between customer versus company-centric point of view, where really I would argue that all of these measures are primarily company-centric, although they have something to say about customer centricity. But KPIs like Net Promoter Score or market share or things like pipeline value, they matter most to the executives who are looking to grow shareholder value. They're often about having customers and lots of them. They don't measure what it's like to be a customer to the firm or how well the firm performs from the customer point of view. Next level down at the operational level, what ops managers care about is the SLAs. Now, SLAs, again, themselves are usually based on a set of KPIs which track performance variables over time. They're useful to manage and optimize workforce workload, people, but they don't necessarily provide insight into customer satisfaction. KPIs are not necessarily customer-centric performance measures. Now, if we looked at a few SLAs, KPIs, and consider what they say about customer experience, I'm kind of trying to show here the two perspectives: the inside-out perspective, which is the usual for setting the sort of SLAs and KPIs, so you can manage the tasks, the people, the schedules. And then there's the outside-in view, which is really focused around customer experience. What is the customer experience in terms of their use of products and services, and how should we look to measure these? Basically, typical SLAs for service desk, like first-time resolution, average handling time, average speed of answer, cost per contact, they typically are agent-centric and cost-centric. So customer-centric performance measures are the ones that we can measure the customer outcomes with, the outcomes that are important and desired for the customer. And of course, they should be measurable. Things around time, convenience, number of options, pounds saved, recognition of achievements. So CPIs, or customer performance indicators for short, for customer-centric performance indicators, if you like, let's call them CPIs. Basically, the important thing about CPIs is they can directly guide action by the firms, the actions that the firms can take to improve the customer outcomes, and they are also they're capable of directly impacting the business performance itself. So here is I'm sort of showing some samples of customer performance indicators. The 2 points to bear in mind is basically that the CPIs can guide actions to improve customer outcomes, and then they also directly impact performance indicators such as the KPIs we talk about. So when you look at, for instance, in a marketing context, it could be in sales context, customer service, finance, operations, whichever side of the company aspect of the company you might be looking at. CPIs can be set in a way that matters. A sort of a top insurance company tracks payment flexibility as a CPI because they can offer online selection of multiple payment plans and options, and that by tracking this, they can actually look at how they can change customer or impact customer acquisition and retention KPIs. When it comes to sales, again, things like quote turnaround time has been could be a CPI set by a life insurance company. In customer service, actually, it so happens that many organizations do track the first-time resolution, and you can argue that this is quite a good customer performance indicator, because it's a question of whether a customer's issue is addressed to their satisfaction in the first inquiry, and that itself can impact retention, lifetime value, etc. I mean, in the case of a delivery, a US grocery delivery service, the CPI could be nothing broke, you know, eggs, fragile things. The company not only impacts customer retention and lifetime value, but also saves on the cost of extra customer service, issuing credits, etc. And interestingly enough, back to the question of customer value or customer lifetime value, you know, some finance companies, some companies have actually taken the reverse measure of looking at what is the value that we deliver to the customer over the same duration. So this is something that can be displayed on their portal or before their renewals, and the kind of KPIs that it impacts are loyalty, retention, and the classic lifetime value itself. So here are a few sort of do's and don'ts in defining your CPIs. The common mistake is that CPIs are sort of, you might adopt the CPI for another company, but basically they're supposed to measure the outcomes for your customers and not someone else's customers. So it needs to be specific to your own. Don't buy into the attitude that says, well, we know our customer and what they need, because you really need to verify, validate, and research this. So don't just ask for written requirements, because a lot of the differentiating factors may be the unspoken need. So and the pitfall about surveys itself is that they typically ask closed questions. The key question for a CPI is, what are the specific outcomes your customer expects from you in terms of their own objectives? So the doing it the right way means applying some kind of design thinking, which involves you know, an ethnographic approach, as they call it, asking open questions in the context of the actual environment in which the customer tries to get to certain outcomes. And techniques like customer journey mapping, which we've seen a little earlier in previous talks, is also very useful when you can annotate the emotional response to the customer at different stages of the journey. So what is the impact of adopting customer-centric performance measures on employees and culture? Well, when employees are only measured on and sort of compensated for by their performance on KPIs, well, they naturally are incentivized to do whatever is necessary to achieve that outcome for the company. And it can include manipulating customers, which customers don't like. On the other hand, in converse, the employees that are accountable for customer performance indicators, they're motivated to help customers achieve the desired outcome for them. So CPIs align customer and employee interest towards a sort of a win-win scenario and a shared success. Once you've determined your CPIs and start measuring them, you need to look for the potential relationship between these measures and your KPIs. So you might have to sort of test this. You need to sort of build a hypothesis about the relationship between the CPI, such as, well, like first time resolution with your customer retention, shall we say, and it can be proven or disproven by running some controlled experiments. Once you've confirmed the relationship between CPIs and KPIs, if you like, from customer-centric and the company-centric ones, then you can begin holding teams accountable for those CPIs that they can impact. And these employees will be able to manage to the outcome that's important to the customer, and that in turn would result in the growth of the company. So to build a customer-centric culture, you need to be able to drive the culture of customer understanding and empathy. You need to be able to, like as they call it, operationalize customer empathy. Hire employees based on kind of their customer orientation. Share customer data and insights with all employees, and be able to facilitate direct interaction with the customer, or familiarize them with customer personas, like they put out cutouts, etc. And you can't manage what you don't measure. And measured targets actually drive behavior. So linking employee culture to customer outcomes is important. So you know, Diane Gerson from IBM HR was kind of discovered that employee engagement scores drives 2/3 of their company client experience scores, which basically proves that you know, if your employees feel good about the company, then the clients will do too. So basically, you know, I would like to sort of summarize to say that basically most key performance indicators and SLAs are company-centric. To get to customer-centric performance measures, you need to take an outside-in view, do research on the environment in which the customer is trying to achieve what they're looking for, and apply design thinking, customer journey mapping, in order then to define the right CPIs and link employee objectives to customer interest, to get a win-win outcome, and drive a customer-centric culture of empathy and understanding with the customer. So really, with that, I would sort of thank you. There's a lot of there's a lot unsaid in what I was saying in terms of the way in which this can impact company culture, the culture change, the change in the orientation. But without further ado, I'll leave that to imagination or further questions.
Thank you, Abol. That was a really interesting perspective to share. I particularly like customer performance indicators. That's not something I've heard of before. I like the way that that's framed. We don't have any questions at the moment, but I can see that you've got your contact information on screen. So obviously, if anyone has any questions, please feel free to reach out to Abol. So yeah, thank you very much for your time today, and thank you for sharing your insights.
Thank you.
Okay, have a great day. So thank you to Annie, Dean and Abol, our speakers from this morning. We are now going to go to a quick break. So now's the perfect time to refresh your drink, get a snack, check your emails, whatever you need to do. We'll be back at 12:45 when we'll have even more fantastic speakers. Thank you.